how's it going? So today we're just gonna do some general garden maintenance. I still have some ornamental grasses to cut back. I want to prune my Caryopteris and butterfly bushes. I've got just a handful of little things I want to get planted, and I'm actually gonna start today by making some tea. So I'm in the greenhouse because one, it got down to 26 degrees last night, and I tented all of my seedlings that I just potted up from inside. I bumped them up in pot size and brought them out here, and I thought, ooh, even though they're in the greenhouse, I want to provide an extra layer of protection over them. So we're gonna go check those out. But I also want to harvest some of my spearmint so that I can go get some tea going inside. So first, let's check on things over here. I've got, oh good, they look great. I've got my delphiniums there on the right. Those are the Magic Fountains Cherry Blossom. They're gorgeous. Then I've got Cafe Cream and Pink Gin Foxgloves, which are looking beautiful. I should actually fertilize these today. And then a whole mess of sweet peas, and they all look really good too. So when I brought all of these sweet peas out to bump them up into these larger pots, this whole line right here was in the same seed starter tray. And I accidentally dropped it, of course, upside down. So I crushed a bunch of them. You can see like this one got bent, not quite broken. I didn't cut it back just to see what would happen. There's another bent one. And then they almost all fell out of their little cells. So I had two varieties going on here. So I have absolutely no idea what is what in this row right here. So it's gonna be a mix between Molly Rillstone and a dark red that I can't pronounce the name of. So that's gonna be my surprise row. And then right over here, I potted up a bunch of nasturtium seeds, and I kind of just wanted to see what would happen if I just potted them up and brought them, like not just brought them, but left them out here in the greenhouse instead of taking them inside. So of course they're not gonna come up as quick because it's still cool out, but they don't really like to have their roots messed with. In fact, direct sowing is probably the best way to go, but I wanted to get a little bit of a jump start. So I wanted to start with them in these larger cans. So we're just gonna do this, like this is just experiment for this year. But there are 102 nasturtiums sitting right there. And I apologize for the beeping in the background. One of the homes that's being built, I think they're getting the concrete level layer poured today. So there's a lot of trucks backing up and such. I don't know how much of that you can hear. And here's my mint from last year. I planted 3 Swiss Ricola mint, which is my very favorite mint, in this pot right here, and just stored it in the greenhouse. And you can see like, oh, those roots just want to come out of there. 3 was probably too much to plant in this one container. 1 would have been sufficient, but I'm just gonna gather up a handful of this and take it inside quick to make our tea. Oh, it smells so good. What are you doing in here? Are you playing with cars? Do you want to smell this? Is that yummy? So the best part about using your own stuff out of your own garden is that you can control what happens to it. Like, I don't even have to wash this because I know it has never been around any kind of spray. Like, it hasn't been sprayed a day in its life. So I can just pop this right down in the pan. So here are my ingredients. I've got this ginger peach tea, which is so delicious. And I don't even like iced tea, you guys, for the most part. But I love this kind of iced tea with a little handful of mint put in. So I'm gonna get some water in this first. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop my mint in the water, and about 6, whoops, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Gonna make sure the tea bags are all pushed down in the water, and we're gonna let that come to a boil. So it's boiling. I'm going to turn down the heat and let it simmer just gently for a few minutes. So after it's done simmering, you just want to remove it from the heat and let it just sit here and steep and cool off, because I don't really want to put it in my glass pitcher until it's cool. So we are going to go outside and do some garden work while that's happening. So this is where we're going to start. We're going to do some Caryopteris pruning first, starting with this one right here. So pruning Caryopteris and butterfly bushes is pretty much the same, and it's very easy to do. The thing is that you want to wait late enough into the season to see a little bit of growth on them. We have done, I think, a video on both types of plants. I know for sure the Caryopteris, will link down below, that'll show a very detailed approach at Caryopteris pruning, and I had just a really great example of one in that video, so make sure to watch that if you still have questions after today. But basically you want to wait to see a little bit of growth because it gives you a very good indication of where to prune the plant. So we're going to look at each one of these individual branches and follow it down to the first set of really good looking leaves, which this one is just starting to push leaves. I'll show you. Hopefully you can see the detail, but we're following this branch down, and you can see that right in here is where it's got its first set of fresh leaves for this year. So we're going to be making our cut right above those, and we'll basically be doing that for the entire shrub, just hopefully ending up with a really nice shape in the end, you know, a little taller in the center and tapered on the sides. So like this one right here, you follow this branch down and you can see the fresh set of buds right here, so we'll be making our cut right above that. So it's a really easy thing to do, and we're going to be looking for the exact same thing on the butterfly bushes. And sometimes, especially with the smaller varieties of butterfly bushes, you don't have to do very much pruning, just because you're kind of always looking down on them, and you can cut off any dead tips and things like that, as you see. But with the larger varieties of butterfly bushes, if you don't prune those, then they'll become what's called second story plants, because they'll only get blooms on the very top tips of their branches, and you can only see them from a second story window. So for those bigger type shrubs, it's important to kind of keep them nicely pruned so you keep them a very pleasing shape, and you want to see the blooms from when you're standing on the ground. I'm assuming most of us want to see it that way. Anyway, so I'm just going to take after this Caryopteris. I've got 1, 2, 3 more in this immediate area, and then I'll show you a closer up look at a butterfly bush. In this area, I'm gonna go ahead and trim some roses and clean up an evergreen because I have everything out and I forgot these. So I'm gonna get those taken care of. I also want to show you something that's going on in this area that we hadn't planned on. Do you remember the path that was right here? Well, we decided kind of on a whim to remove it. In fact, my mother-in-law, Erin's mom, came over and did it all. She took up all the stones and took them to her house to use them. And we are gonna do something different back here. We figure we may as well. You can see we've got some exciting trees going on because we're going to have the flower bed here lined with brick. We're going to eliminate this access point, and there will be brick all the way around here. We'll do a video later about all the trees and everything going on in this spot, but it's a complete wreck back here. And Erin is getting his wish in that most of this blue fescue is going to be pulled up. So sad. But here are the roses. I'm gonna have to be careful because there are tulips coming up all over in this spot. These are Mary Rose David Austins, and they're looking great. I mean, they're already leafing out and everything. I am going to go grab some iron tone because you can already see I'm dealing with some chlorosis issues. The yellowing of the leaves, but the veins are staying a darker green color. Let me get a close up. See that right there? So that's something I'm just going to apply the iron tone now so it can slowly start to work on these plants, but I want to cut them back a little bit anyway and just kind of rejuvenate them. So to do that, it's very simple. I'm just going to take each branch down to a strong looking set of leaves like this. I don't worry about making a slanted cut or anything like that. So I'm going to do that to all of the branches just to create a really nice shape. And then if there are any that are competing, which this one looks pretty good. If you look into the center here, it's all very airy. These were brand new last year, I think, so they're kind of baby roses still. This one though was planted the year before, so it's got a little bit of shape issues going on. So I'm going to try to shape this one up and then maybe clean out the center a little tiny bit. Anything that's competing, I'll get rid of. That looks like a really good scratching post. Russell, you have quite the life and you're totally messing up the mulch. Hey. You are a funny boy. Russell, hey, kitty kitty. Oh. Hey, this is a new camera, we gotta be careful. This whole area looks a heck of a lot better, having those roses all trimmed up. I did do a little pruning on the Skylands Oriental spruce right here because it had a lot of brown tips on it that were dead. It did not fare this winter very well, which is super weird because it was very mild, but I think it was so dry. We had such a dry winter that maybe that's what did it. But I did fertilize with a little bit of holly tone not long ago. So hopefully we'll see some new growth this year. And I did apply iron tone to the roses. So this stuff right here, because that's what we were seeing, that nice yellow leaf, and this is what we want to see. So I think getting that applied early was really good, and I may need to apply later on, but just take a look at that rose. I mean, you just saw how wild it looked. Much better shaped, nice air circulation in the middle there, and that's key for roses, especially if you live in a humid environment, which we don't, so we don't deal with powdery mildew and black spot like some of you probably do, but we deal with it a little bit. Now we're going to move on to butterfly bushes. I'm going to show you two different types. One is one of the really small ones. I think it's the microchip pink. So I think it grows like 1.5 to 2 feet by that many feet wide. I don't know, it's very small. And it's just right here. And then I'm going to show you a Miss Violet and Miss Ruby, which are much larger, and they are in the back garden. So let's start with the small one first. So this is it right here. Isn't it beautiful? This time of year is so funny. It's crazy when you look back at pictures and like realize what this area actually looks like in season. It's a mess right now because it needs to be mulched. I need to get trees planted, the edging done, and I'm gonna move the lamppost out. But you know what I mean. Anyway, this is the pink microchip right here. You can see if you look in here, like look into the center, there is some life right there. This one, it looks like I'm going to be pruning quite a bit out of, even though there's some life out on these branches. And honestly, if I waited a little bit longer, which you can absolutely do because these are one of the last ones to wake up in the garden, you can wait and trim it up after you know for sure, like, you know, where the dead stuff is and such. But I did come in, and I'm gonna see if I can get close on this, and I roughed up just one little piece of bark because it looked like this could be a dead branch. But do you see that green? That's the little piece of bark. I just used my pruners to peel that off. You can see that green underneath, so that means that there's still life in it. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of go for less like pruning hard and more pruning for shape at this point, and then I'll come in later on and maybe do a little bit more once, you know, it has woken up a little bit more than it is right now. So here we go. All right, just kidding. I ended up kind of taking it down to the nub, but there was a lot of little stuff like this that's just crispy and not alive that I was able to take out. In fact, I could probably spend a lot of time fussing with it and getting that kind of stuff out, but that won't really matter. But there's a lot of really beautiful growth, so I just made sure it has kind of a nice shape, and I probably will not need to come back in later and prune that again. But you can also see when you make your cuts, like here's a really good example, you can see the life that's still in that branch and in all of them. So that's a really good way to tell what is alive and what is not. So let's head to one of the bigger ones. I do feel like I need to disclaimer that again though. If you are not sure how to prune a butterfly bush, or you're just feeling not very confident in yourself, I would just wait. Just give it time to fully wake up and then prune at that point. So this is a Miss Violet. I hope you're able to see it. It's in the shade, very sunny back behind, but you can see where all of the blooms are, right on the tips of this shrub. And that's kind of what we want to avoid. Maybe not so much with this variety because this one's about topped out at height. It's not like one of the old varieties that wants to get 10 and 12 feet tall. So we were always able to see these blooms, but I would like to just trim it down a little bit to about here, just so that they're all at eye level. So if we come in closer, you can see that this plant has life, like almost all the way to the tips. There's the spent bloom right there. And if one wanted just to clean those off, you absolutely could, and then you would get nice new blooms on the edges. But I'm just gonna take this down about to here today. So here we go. And there's the after. Looks a lot better, and I know it will put on quite a bit of growth. It'll probably be every bit as big as it just was right before I pruned it, and it'll have a lot of nice blooms on it that I'll be able to see at eye level. So with both butterfly bushes and caryopteris, you can absolutely wait longer in the season to where they have woken up a little bit more, and that way you can more clearly tell where they need to be pruned, or you can take after it at this point when they're just starting to show new leaves. Either way, it's a good idea to prune both of them. It keeps them nice and strong, and it keeps them looking their best. So now I have a few ornamental grasses to cut back and a couple little ground cover veronica I want to get planted. Those look sweet right there. This is a ground cover type veronica called Georgia Blue. And it doesn't get like maybe 10 inches tall, and it spreads out 12 to 15 inches tall. And I just planted the pink diamonds dicentra, so I thought it would be really pretty. These will bloom all season long, and these will bloom for a good part of the season. So I think that pink and the blue will be really pretty together. Got an airplane. Benjamin would flip out if he was out here. And beautiful skies today, don't you think? It's just gorgeous. Anyway, I think it'll be really pretty, and I want to up my ground cover game. That's something that I really just don't have a lot of yet. And these poor things, I planted them yesterday and it was 26 degrees last night. I came out and covered them with Harvest Guard, but their blooms were still a little bit too tender to take that kind of temperature. And I did forget that I've got 2 hellebores I was wintering over in the greenhouse that were in containers last year that I want to plant out in the hellebore area. And then we're gonna head inside and finish our tea and plant some tomato seeds. Lots of random stuff today. These are just little tiny ones, so it won't take me long to get these planted. Go inside, bud.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
Hi, Pee-Pee.
I got my stuff done outside.
Yeah,
Yeah, are you coloring?
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
We're gonna run upstairs really quick though and get the tomatoes planted. These are called Currant Red. They're from Floret. They're tiny little itty bitty tomatoes that I'm growing specifically for cut flower arrangements. And the package is all messed up because I accidentally dropped it in a puddle of water on the counter, so I quickly rescued the seeds, and I happen to have this vial that some of my foxglove seeds came in, so that's why that's all messed up. And this is the last new variety of tomato seed I'm starting upstairs. The rest I'll probably buy from transplants. I have 3 other varieties going, the ones from Proven Winners, one of which looks like it's gonna want to bloom here pretty soon. So I'm gonna pop those blooms off so that we focus on more growth. Anyway, it's getting kind of dark, hold on. There we go. We want growth and root system right now, not necessarily blooms. Yeah, so check this tomato out. See those? Those are future blooms. And we don't really want our tomato to be producing blooms at this point of the game because it's so early. So what I'm probably going to do, in fact I'll just do it right now, is I'm going to pop this top part off, just like that. Now this plant will focus on root growth and getting bigger. And kind of the same story with my hot and heavy peppers. You can see that this is wanting to bloom too. Several of them are. They look really healthy. And then I've got all the stuff I need. I've got my seed tray right here, my seed starting mix, a bowl, and some water. And I'm only gonna plant up maybe like 8 cells with tomatoes, but I'm gonna go ahead and fill the rest of my tray. And I'm gonna just go grab some other kind of random seed, and may as well. Since this one's gonna be under a dome and under a light for a while, I can get something else going. So anyway, all I'm concerned about right now though is getting the tomatoes in. Here we go. There's the seed. So here's the tray with the tomatoes. I ended up doing 9 cells because I accidentally dropped some seed in that 9th one. So anyway, 9 is just fine, and then I'll plant the remaining ones up later on. But I'm going to have to reorganize my plant shelves because they are absolutely chock full of stuff right now. In fact, I still have this tray of basil. This is, nope, this is the Fama White pincushion flower. I still have that one sitting out here. They haven't germinated yet, so it isn't like vital that it's underneath the grow light yet, but I may have to move some other things out. I just don't know what yet. So while we're up here, let me show you my snapdragons. Aren't those looking awesome? And then these are the Sahara Rudbeckia. They're looking pretty good. We've got Love in a Puff and some other things at varying stages of growth. This is the Easter egg eggplant. On this side over here, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. So there's the Cresspedia sunball, Nicotiana, let's see, what is this one called? Indian Peace. Then we've got straw flowers, both peach and white. But this one right here is super interesting looking. This is a Hibiscus Mahogany Splendor. And you can see these are the first set of true leaves right here. And then these are just the first leaves that appeared. But aren't those cool looking? Great germination rate on most everything. I've got a couple of trays that were a little sad. This is the Aster Bengal Rose Frost, which I actually have had the seed packet since last year, but it shouldn't have come up this poorly. Like everything else, this is another Aster, and I got, let's see, 99% germ on that. Just one tray didn't, or one cell didn't come up. And then this is the other Aster. This is the peach one. And every single cell came up in there. In fact, I need to thin this one. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. At least we'll get a few of the white asters. All right, so let's go finish our tea. Oh, look how cute that is. Benjamin likes to finger paint. So this is what it looks like. It smells amazing. So now I'm just going to pour this concentrate into my glass pitcher, and then we'll top it up with water. All right, I don't know how good this thing pours. We shall see. It's so refreshing, you guys, and coming from somebody who doesn't love iced tea, like, you should definitely try this. It's the ginger peach Can't remember what brand. I'll try to find it and link it down below for you, but get yourself a pot of mint growing so you can toss a handful of mint in with your tea or with numerous other things. I always love to have at least one pot of mint going. And it's just starting to feel like iced tea weather. Like, it's kind of overcast now, but it's been a lot warmer. Like, I see a 70-degree day next week, which is amazing. So yeah, I will have a pitcher of this iced tea probably going at all times from this point on for the rest of the season. So anyway, that is it for today's video. We do have a little bit of afternoon left, so I think Benjamin, Aaron, and I might try to go out and plant some of the arborvitae on the new property. So I'll make sure to capture any of that if we do get any of it done. It's been a little bit interesting, you know, with all of us home, and we're not bringing in any extra help, any family members or anything to watch Benjamin. We're just staying to ourselves pretty much. So we're just trying to plug away at projects and film what we can. So I hope you guys are all really doing well and having some great days. I'm just thankful that we get to be together during this thing. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. I'm just gonna sit out here and drink my tea for a while.